Welcome back to JBSports. I'm your host Sean Burton here, and today is Friday, so it's all about the normal sports, but really NFL right now, just because it's playoff time. There's heavy implications on the game, and the Chiefs are still in the playoffs, which everyone is upset about. But going into the Chiefs, so first divisional round, I did okay. I was right about the Eagles. I was wrong about the Lions. I was right about Kansas City and wrong about Baltimore. So I went 2 for 2, which divisional I went 4 for 2. So I'm losing 2 per round, which hopefully isn't right this time. I want to go 2-0 hopefully, but we'll get into the game. So first game, Kansas City versus the Texans. A very argued game at the end. There was a lot of people saying that maybe the refs had heavy implications on the game with some questionable calls, a rough in the passer on Mahomes, a just unnecessary roughness call. Where really, if you look at it, the two Texans players just banged heads into each other, so it really wasn't on Mahomes at all. And Mahomes slid really late. And I know all the Chiefs fans will probably say something about get over it or stop complaining, but if it was any other team, you'd be the same way. So you have to understand. But yeah, Kansas City beats the Houston Texans. Texans, they did all right, but also Kansas City's defense, I will give it, they did pretty good. They got some good sacks in there, but the refs just helped them too much, in my opinion. Next one, we have Baltimore Buffalo. Very, very good game. I thought it was pretty good in the beginning, and then at the end, it got even better. Unfortunately, for Ravens fans, at the end, it got much worse because they were down by 8 points. Lamar has an amazing drive, goes down, throws a amazing touchdown pass, and they go for a 2 point conversion, which is the smart thing to do there, which a lot of coaches don't do. So I don't know why they don't, but the implications, it's good for you had to go for two there because they had no timeouts, and if the Bills they just would have ran the clock out, so you had no other choice. And they run this play, and it's run to perfection until the last moment. Mark Andrews, Lamar puts it on the money. He drops it again. I've seen so many people saying that they need to trade Mark Andrews immediately, and I mean, you can put a lot of the blame on him. He did have a fumble. He did have that failed 2 point conversion. But if you look at the whole team, there were some other mistakes too. Lamar, listen, he didn't do as bad as Justin Herbert did in the wild card. Justin Herbert did terrible, but Lamar Jackson didn't do perfect. He had a really bad interception where he just sailed over the receiver's hand, and he had that really bad fumble against Damar Hamlin. And a lot of people were saying that fumble wasn't as bad, but it's basically the same spot on the field. And compared to the Mark Andrews fumble, that fumble was recovered for way more by Von Miller. So while Mark Andrews did have the failed 2 point conversion and the fumble, Lamar had that really bad interception and he had that really bad fumble, which Damar Hamlin, shout out to you for getting that. Good work there. But it didn't look pretty for him either. He did do fairly good and had that amazing ending drive, but some of the blame could be put on him too. But also Steelers fans, I see a lot of you talking trash. They did just whoop you and kick you out of the playoffs, so I understand your rivals, but you can't be talking that much because they whooped you into another QB and coach situation in another offseason for like the fifth or sixth in a row. So next one, it is Washington. Actually, no, I'll save that one for last. The Rams versus Philadelphia. This one was it wasn't questionable, no bad ref calls. It was just the snow really made a difference. First touchdown of the game, I believe it was Jalen Hurts on like a 50-yard run. Great run by him. Glad to see that he's also being safe, and instead of when he does runs, instead of just jumping full force front with his head out, he slides, which is very good for his health because even though we're rivals, you always prioritize health. You don't want to see anyone get hurt. So, but this game was the Rams' game to lose. They were really driving down the field, and then they had the Kyron Williams fumble, and then the next drive they had Matthew Stafford fumble. And after all of that, you think the game's over with 2 scores ahead. They score, they stop Philly, and then they get the ball back with like a minute left where they had the win in their hands. They literally had the drive. The Eagles could do nothing about it, and they get on the Eagles half the field, and they just couldn't get it done. Matthew Stafford tried the hardest. Receivers weren't catching well because of the snow, and the last pass he kind of sailed out of bounds, and the Eagles escaped with a victory. I hope Jalen Hurts is okay after getting that knee injury because I don't really want to win off just injuries as a Commanders fan, but we're gonna we're gonna hope that he's good because it would be a fun matchup. And Saquon, another insane game by him. He is having a generational run. He didn't get the record because he sat the last game, but you prioritize health because if you look at it right now, if Saquon wasn't playing in these games, the Eagles might have been screwed. So we'll see what happens with them. Okay, next games. The first the conference championship game, Buffalo versus Kansas City. Let me just add here real quick. These conference championship games are some of the best rivalry in NFL sports. It's a perfect slate of rivalries. You have the Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs, where it's literally just been Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes the entire time the last few years, where Josh Allen always gets close and Patrick Mahomes managed to kick him out again and again and again. You had the 13 seconds left. You have some questionable calls, but this one really is Josh Allen's prove himself year because Mahomes is going for that three-peat for the first three-peat in NFL history, and a lot of people are saying Josh Allen can't get it done deep in the playoffs because he hasn't been able to. But if you're able to defeat the Chiefs, this will be a big, big plus for his career, especially with the implications. So that's the AFC Championship game. One second before we do the NFC Championship, we have to talk about Washington Detroit. That game was wild. As a Commanders fan, I went into it thinking, any given Saturday, but it's most likely that the Lions would get the win just because they're the division champs of NFC. They're the NFC champs. You're not supposed to beat the number one seed. You're supposed to lose, and they go to the championship. But that was not the play for Detroit. They were struggling from the beginning. Really, you had the Commanders get a quick touchdown to match theirs. Gibbs was running all over us. It was really rough to see, and seeing Gibbs do that gets you a little scared for Saquon, but that's the next game. You had some really good QB play by Jane Daniels. Jane Daniels, a generational rookie, probably, in my opinion, the best rookie quarterback of all time, and maybe the best rookie of all time, really. You haven't seen someone bring their team to a conference championship like this in a long time, or ever, really. So Jane Daniels is on a different run. He played spectacularly. So next part of it, Mikey Sainristil, Frozone, 2 picks. Love to see that. He was amazing out there. He stayed on those guys well. There's one play where I think Jameson Williams got a touchdown, but really it wasn't Mikey's fault. It was really good blocking, so you can't really hold him on that. But overall, really good play by the defense and offensive line. Amazing. No sacks with one of the better pass rushing and sacks teams in the NFL, the Lions. So very impressive by them. And Sam Cosmi, unfortunately, did get hurt the game before. So that sucks because Sam Cosmi was such a big piece for our team. And hopefully, after the ACL tear, he does get better and he can come back next year and be that really good right guard that he's been for us the last 2 years. So prayers up to him. Hopefully, he gets better. And then at the end of it, the Lions just couldn't come back. It was a little flurry at the end where they got a touchdown and almost got the onside kickback, which thankfully Zach Ertz was able to recover it, and we just closed out the game, which Gonzalez missed a field goal, but my stance is he's just getting the miss out of the way before next game, hopefully. But on to next game. Washington versus Philadelphia, one of the biggest rivalries in NFC history. We have been against each other for years, and the torment we put each other through and the just sheer anger between the two fan bases is absolutely crazy. You have the Commanders who haven't been this good in years. It's been since 2005 they won their last playoff game. The Eagles, they've been one of the better teams in the division and the NFC the last few years. So it's really the solidified team versus the up and coming team. Goliath versus Jacob. it's a real David and Goliath story, as the Eagles are, of course, the Goliath right now, and the Commanders are David, So that's storyline reasons, but so we're gonna have to see if the Commanders can step up. I really think we can, but it's gonna take a lot. We're gonna have really good offensive line plays. You're gonna have to have Jaden Daniels play perfectly, and we're gonna have Jaden Daniels like the last time he played the Eagles. He has to be on a dart back and back and back. He has to be scoring because our defensive line and our defense has looked pretty good since the last time. Marshawn Lattimore had a way better game against the Lions. 1 target, 0 catches, 0 yards. So way better game than against Mike Evans. But can you keep it up against A.J. Brown? He has had some time to play since the A.J. Brown game where really he had one actual pass interference calls and the two other ones were kind of bull. I'm going to be honest. But he's had some time since that game. Hopefully, he's going to be able to play against A.J. Brown for us. Mike Sanderson's been having way better games. He can probably slow down their wide receiver too. And then Benjamin St. Juste, if he plays, or Noah Igbenogany, they can take Jahan Dotson, which Jahan Dotson is good. He was a Commander. He had a struggle last year, but in certain moments, he's been able to prove himself to be a valuable member of the team. So predictions: Buffalo, Kansas City. Everybody in the world except for Kansas City is going against the Chiefs, and I'm going to join them. I really do think this is Josh Allen's year to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. The only other person that's been able to do it recently is Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow is that guy. But Josh Allen has to prove himself. This is the biggest year for him, and if Buffalo can win, it's going to be a mark in all of their careers. So I'm going to go Buffalo to win this game and go to the Super Bowl. And then the Commanders versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This game is torn for me. It's my love for my Commanders, and then basically like the PTSD I've had for years of watching them lose. And then Philly's been a better team, and they usually like play better against us for some reason. So we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna use my mental strength, and I'm gonna have faith in my team, and I'm gonna say that the Washington Commanders will make a Super Bowl for the first time in so long. First time in my lifespan. I mean, the game against the Bucks, that's the first time I've seen us win a playoff game. So this is really a big step for them, and Jaden Daniels especially. So Jane Daniels can do this. I know he can, and the rest of the team has to be able to step up. Terry, keep playing like you've been playing. De'Ami Brown has been having a big impact in these playoff games. Keep playing like the way you played. Like Amon Ross St. Brown said, "Oh, who's that? The guy Washington drafted in front of us? Who like how many catches, how many yards did he have this game?" Well, he actually played really good now, Amon St. Brown, so you can't really take that against him. He played almost better than you because you just got a lot of freebie yards at the end of the game when we weren't playing on you. So you can arguably say that De'Ami Brown made the bigger plays and the best catches. But yeah, going into the Super Bowl, I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills versus the Washington Commanders, and who will win that if they make it is a conversation for the next episode. So going into these games, Buffalo against Ravens, they did well. Kansas City Chiefs versus Houston, a lot of rest in my opinion. Chiefs fans, you can argue with me if you want, but everybody knows. Washington versus Detroit, big game for Washington, big game for Jane Daniels, really big prove it game. And Eagles versus the Rams. Eagles Eagles were able to hold it out. Their defense was very good at the end. And that's the divisional round, and then going into the conference rounds. Other parts of this is, unfortunately, there was another injured Lion or two. That was rough, but if you look at our teams, the Lions still had basically a better player in almost every position except for quarterback. So that was the only place you really had an up on, except Terry was arguably the best receiver on that field, in my opinion. No one can really beat Terry out there. But everyone else, the Lions did have better skill positions. Going into the Lions, they have basically been losing all of their coaching staff. Ben Johnson has gone to the Chicago Bears, where finally Caleb Williams wasn't catfished by his own coach. Now Ben Johnson is actually the Chicago Bears head quarterback. And the defensive coordinator, he has gone to the New York Jets, which arguably probably one of the worst places you can go. I mean, Glenn, there were some other head coaching jobs that might have seemed more favorable. I don't know if you'd say the Raiders are more favorable. I mean, they just put Pete Carroll in their head coach position, which I don't really know why. He's been out of the league for a year or two, and he just he wasn't looking too much in his prime the last few. You never know. Maybe Pete Carroll comes out there and goes crazy with the Raiders, but they're not in the best QB situation. They don't have a top draft spot, so they can't really get one of those two higher level QBs, which that's arguably not high level Shador and Cam Ward, but they're in a situation themselves where there's a few quarterbacks on market you could take, like maybe a Sam Darnold. You give Kirk Cousins a vet minimum for just vet minimum because he's getting paid so much by the Falcons, which that's another Russell Wilson situation where Russell Wilson played good the first two games, but the last games you saw what happened. They lost the last, I believe, 4 games in the regular season, and then they got stomped by the Ravens. So not looking too good for him. Another QB situation for them. Raiders QB situation. You got so many teams with QB situations, and a lot of QBs with situations themselves, the higher level ones. Sam Darnold, can he perform under pressure? He didn't do it the last 2 games of the season, which were the biggest games. A wild card game to make it division couldn't play, couldn't win. And then the one against the Lions to be the champs of the NFC and get the number 1 seed, couldn't do it there either. So not good for him. Aaron Rodgers, you don't really know if he's retiring yet. There's some yes and there's some no's scattered all around the internet. So until he says something directly, you don't know what's going to happen there. Kirk Cousins played really bad for the Falcons the last half of the season. Can he be the Kirk Cousins of before, which arguably isn't a bad quarterback, but wasn't a quarterback who could lead you through the playoffs? He's basically Sam Darnold became Kirk Cousins 2.0 on the Vikings. And then you have so many quarterbacks that are in just desperate situations that you don't know if can get it done. So it's a desperate situation out there for QBs. And then one big situation is for the Dallas Cowboys, who have parted ways with Mike McCarthy, and they got a lot of situations themselves. QB Dak Prescott, he got hurt. Is he going to be a good QB? Is he going to be a mid QB? He's also a QB who can't lead you in the playoffs. And then they just got a lot of holes on their team. I mean, they have a good defensive line, but CD's there. I don't think he's too happy. You have uh, Micah Parsons, who hasn't been the happiest recently, and he said he'd take a pay cut, but at the end of it, will he actually take a pay cut? Probably not. So we'll see what their situation is, but it's big for division rivals with me because Cowboys, they've been terrorizing me my whole life. So it was kind of good to see us be better than them for once. And then the Giants, I mean, it's the Giants. What else are you going to say about them? It's just they've been rough. They need a QB. Okay. The biggest thing about the Giants is they're probably feeling the sickest about us and the Commanders and Eagles being in the NFC Championship game because listen, one, both of them are division rivals. Two, Saquon Barkley has not only gone to the Eagles, which is traitor, but he's helped them make it to the NFC Championship. That's got to feel sick for them, especially after their owner or GM? I forgot which one said. It was owner. He said, I'd feel sick if the Eagles got Saquon from us. And what happened? They got Saquon. So that must feel bad for them. Dallas Cowboys what makes them feel sick. One, Dan Quinn, which was their defensive coordinator, became a head coach and immediately took the Commanders to the NFC Championship. Two, a lot of Dallas players dipped on them and go to play in Washington. Be honest, you have Dante Fowler, Armstrong, like some key pieces for us this year came from the Cowboys and shined, which they didn't fully shine on the Cowboys and then came out and were amazing. And then three, it's the Commanders. We don't like each other. I mean, Cowboys and Commanders, big rivalry throughout the years. And four, I think they are the last, like, since 1996 or something like that, they're the only team to not make the NFC Championship game, which it was us and the Commanders and Cowboys who haven't made it there since that date. And guess what? new boys in the block. The Commanders have made it. So Cowboys are looking like the worst NFC team in a long time. Which, okay, record-wise, they don't look like the worst throughout the last few years, but history-wise, so far, they're not looking like the best because it's just been a struggle bus for them. Jerry Jones, I don't think a lot of Cowboy fans really like him too much right now. He's said he's the GM, he's the owner, he bought the team, he bought the job. He's not getting rid of it, which I guess for him sucks. I mean, oh, it's great for him, but the fans they don't love him anymore. They want him gone, which you can't really get away. So that is rough for the fans, but Jerry Jones, you've been amazing, man. You've been a great owner and GM for them. Keep it up. I love to see it. But yeah, the NFC, our division is gonna be some. It's gonna be some really good stories in the next years. You have Jaden Daniels, NFC Championship. In the second year, Jaden Daniels will be even crazier. Eagles, they'll continue to be good. Saquon will be great. Jalen Hurts, question mark, but I think he'll be pretty good. Then Giants. I mean, listen, they got a lot. They have a situation there. I already talked about it. They won't be probably good for years. And then the Cowboys, I think, honestly, are. I mean, biggest question mark maybe. I think the Commanders are to see if we can like continue this train of really good seasons. We'll see what can happen there, but it's not looking like we're gonna. I mean, it's not looking like we're gonna get bad. I'm saying we're gonna be pretty good for the next few years. Jaden Daniels, we better once his rookie contract is up, we better hand him a blank check and just say, write whatever you want. You are on our team. This is what we want you here for the next till you retire. That's how long we want Jaden Daniels. We want him for the entire time. I don't care who gets the coaching job. I don't care who the GM becomes. We want Jaden Daniels for the rest of his career. Wide receiver wise, we need some help there. Cornerback wise, we need some help there. There are definitely holes. There are so many holes in our roster that we need to fix, which is why it's so impressive that we are where we are right now. So cornerback wise, everybody knows we got to fix that. Wide receiver, De'Ami Brown is starting to emerge as a wide receiver two, but he's more of a wide receiver three. But right now he's looking like a wide receiver two. So maybe we do need to fix it. Maybe not. Maybe a small bit not. But Noah Brown would be amazing right now in the playoffs. I wish he was here. Then offensive line, we need depth. Our depth is really bad because once one person on the line gets hurt, then you have to fix everything. You got Trent Scott in there. He's playing really well though. He stepped up and it's been amazing. But you gotta fix it. And then defensive line, we're looking pretty good there. I don't really think we need to draft a defensive line or sign one. I mean, it would be helpful, but I don't think so. Running back wise, Brian Robinson, dude, you've been doing great this playoffs. I'm so happy for Brian Robinson. He's really getting back to that form we know him, as Janky Rondo calls him, Thanos. He's getting back to that Thanos form. I now forgive him for fumbling twice to the Eagles that game, but we'll see where it goes. It should be a good game. I really do have faith in us. And you know what? If the Chiefs don't win it, I'm sorry. We'll we'll get off of that. But thank you guys for watching. This has been JB Sports. The teams I have to go to the Super Bowl, the Bills and the Commanders. Have a great Friday and have a great weekend. Subscribe.